right, welcome in A to Z Sports Big Orange Podcast. I'm Charlie Burris. That is Zach Reagan. Wherever you listen throughout the world, thank you very much for listening to us. We talk everything balls every week here on the Big Orange Podcast. If you want to listen to that on the regular, go over to the A to Z Sports Podcast Network feed on Apple or Spotify. When you get there, rate, review, but you know you got to subscribe. If you do subscribe, you won't miss our shows when we drop them on Mondays. Speaking of Mondays, it is 1 right now, 5 p.m. Eastern time, which means we're live on YouTube. A to Z Sports Tennessee Volunteers is the YouTube channel that you need to go and search up, subscribe there. But more than anything, hit that notification bell, because if you do that, then you'll be notified when we go live, and it won't matter when it is. It could be at midnight on a Sunday, which I guess technically would be a Monday. And you'll be notified when we go live, and you can hop in, join the show, be a part of it, like so many of our great commenters are. At Charlie_Burris, that's Zach TNT at A to Z Sports, Facebook.com/A to Z Sports Nashville, and A to Z Sports.com for everything that Zach writes over on the internet. And Zach, you had something interesting today. I wanted to lead off with this. For the most part, I wanted to talk basketball and baseball because it's been kind of we're shifting over there officially, where baseball season's coming into form, basketball season's about to wrap up. But Josh Heupel says that he wants a 2014 playoff today. Got a lot of people up in arms. What's up, man?
I think the most surprising thing there is that Josh Heupel talked to the media in the offseason when he didn't have to.
It's a good point.
I mean, how about
really
that?
Good point. Yeah,
not something he typically does, but yeah, that was kind of a random way to kick off March, but I guess it's appropriate since it is March and tournament time's coming.
Yeah, I went ahead. I changed my background to the SEC basketball tournament. Triple J Santiago Vescovi after they won the SEC tournament. What was it? What year did that happen? 22?
22? You were there, right?
I was there in Tampa, Florida, in Amalie Arena. What a random place for that to happen, considering nobody in the SEC plays in Tampa, Florida. But regardless, great times. Had to switch it up because, as John Rothstein loves to say, this is March. So, we got to talk about it. But to quickly hit on the whole Heupel thing with 2014. So this was in an interview with Chris Lowe. And Chris Lowe asked 24 teams. I forget exactly what it was. I don't have it right in front of me. And Heupel basically said, like, yeah, I guess 24 would be the best option. And everybody immediately goes to, well, of course it would be the best option because he wants to save his job. He wants to say that he makes the playoffs every year. I mean, Tennessee at 24, Tennessee would have made the playoff this year. It's pretty much as simple as that. There's probably validity to that. I also kind of think, I mean, D2 does 24 teams. Why do people hate it so much? I know I'm probably in a minority there as far as that opinion goes. A lot of people staunchly against the expansion, but just my own personal feelings.
Yeah, I don't have like a strong take on what the postseason format should be. I'm kind of like whatever it ends up being, we'll deal with it and enjoy it, and that's just the way the sport will be. But personally, I mean, I don't. For starters, with the talk about Heupel and the reason that he might like the 2014 playoff, let's start there. Because I have a couple different thoughts on this whole thing. I think every single coach in college football would prefer a bigger playoff because of that exact reason. It's this whole playoff or bust mentality. We've talked about it on the show a ton. I can't stand it. I hate it that it has become this sort of thing where it's like if you don't make the playoff every year, you're going to get fired. I understand it's kind of a tournament sport now, but at the same time, it's just not. There aren't many programs that are going to be making it every single year like that, and it's led though to this crazy situation where if you don't make the playoff in a year where you're predicted to make the playoff, you may be fired at the midpoint of that season. I mean, it happened to James Franklin last season at Penn State. So I don't blame coaches at all for feeling that way. If that's the way the sport's going, then yeah, by all means, make it 24 teams where more teams can get in, and you're more likely to keep your job. On the flip side, if you do miss the 2014 playoff and you're a team like Tennessee that's typically a top 25 team, at least they have been under Josh Heupel, then you probably are getting fired. So it helps your chances of keeping your job because there's a better chance you're gonna make the playoff. At the same time, you miss that big of a field, and it's going to be hard to convince your athletic director you should stay put for another season unless there's just some
Yeah.
crazy circumstances that went down. Um, the other side of this argument, at least what I see on social media, is people that hate it. People like the Josh Pates, and yeah, that's the person I see the most on Twitter that's railing against an expanded playoff. So they say it devalues the regular season, and I don't understand that at all. And maybe it's because I'm a baseball guy and I watch a game in the middle of May on a Wednesday night like it's life or death. I mean, I just feel like every game is kind of that way if you're a college football fan. I mean, as Tennessee fans, for well over a decade, we were locked in on every single game throughout the season, knowing damn well that Tennessee had no chance of competing for a championship during the Dooley years, the Butch years, the Pruitt years, even the end of the Fulmer era. I mean, we weren't dumb. Like we knew what the outcome, the best case scenario for those seasons were. We were just hoping that Tennessee might win 9 or 10 games. Uh, we were still watching those games just as intently. So I don't, if a college football game is compelling, I'm going to watch it no matter the playoff implications. And if it's not compelling, I'm not going to watch it. I mean, if it's a blowout game and it has playoff implications, I don't care. I don't care if it is a playoff game. If Georgia gets up 45-0 on Cincinnati in the first round of a playoff game, I'm probably not tuning in for the fourth quarter. I mean, that's just how every game is, in my opinion. So I don't, college football has always been about the tradition, the pageantry, the rivalries, just the incredible atmospheres that these games produce from, late August all the way to the end of November. That's nothing can take away from that, in my opinion, expanded playoff or not. So, I think 24 teams would be fun. I think there'd be a lot more fun. There'd be some blowout games, of course. I mean, that's the case in the NFL playoffs, the NBA playoffs. Regardless, you're always going to have some blowouts in postseason play, but much better chance you'll get some really exciting games too. And we had some fun ones in the second year of the 12 team playoff. I'm sure
Yeah.
the 2014 would be even more fun.
The whole devalues the regular season thing. It's just so silly to me because it makes the regular season, to me, it makes the regular season even better. And I'll say this, I'm really only in support of the 2014 thing if you get rid of conference championship games, which is I think is coming down the pike almost no matter what happens.
Yeah, I mean they're just kind of pointless at this point, and you
Yeah,
don't want to be the
they
loser
get in the
of one of
way.
those games.
Yes, and you can end up like Georgia year before this past year, where your quarterback gets irreparably injured in that game, and then you don't have your quarterback for the playoff. I mean, it's stupid. It's a dumb thing that we're doing at this point just because it makes the SEC an extra, however many millions of dollars. But if you got rid of that, to me, you have so many different layers of things that would matter in the regular season. One would be who gets the buys in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
That's already one. Uh, who gets the home games? There's another one.
Absolutely, which is huge. I mean, we know how that is
Yes.
massive, massive.
Yeah, I mean it's huge in the NFL. Like it dictates that home field advantage all the way to the Super Bowl. Now, and it's a little different here because of the. I think it should be home games all the way to the national championship, but they're not going to do that because of the bowl tie-ins. But
At least till the final four.
yes, that's what it should be. Um, but home field advantage and just seeding in general, like you maybe on that final week, oh, if we win this game we're playing Alabama, oh, if we lose this game we got to play Ohio State. Well, of course you're going to want to win and play a lesser team. So I just think that's so stupid to me. I mean, that just like that's such an uncompelling argument completely. And then it's more football. Who's complaining about more playoff football? Give me a break. The only one where I truly I'm like, okay, enough's enough is when people talk about expanding the NCAA tournament. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
guys, it's 68
it's perfect.
teams.
It's the perfect. It's
Yes,
been perfect. Let's
it's It is the best. I'm a bigger basketball guy than I am a football guy. I'm wearing a basketball shirt at this exact moment, but I mean, it's the best sporting event on planet Earth. Don't mess with it. It's the absolute. It's the best. It's better than the college football playoffs. It just is. I'm sorry, you're wrong if
Oh
you think
yeah,
otherwise.
I agree.
I I just like it. Just is that good with the amount of incredible moments that have come out of March Madness. Don't touch it. But college football, there's plenty to work on here that you could make this even more compelling. I don't know. We don't have to spend too much time on
Yeah,
this.
I mean, I think that you could, in a perfect world, and Anderson mentioned in comment, compelling or competitive when I was talking about the regular season. I think it's a mixture of both. I mean, I want to see competitive games, and I think that makes in turn makes those games compelling. But for me, I think the perfect setup would be where you remove the conference championship games, and then you start the playoff immediately after the regular season, just like every other sport, how the playoffs kind of start immediately. Now, I don't know if you're going to have buys factoring in with the 2014 playoff. You wouldn't need buys. And maybe there's some different setups there that could work. I don't want to get too in the weeds on that because I haven't really thought that much about what a format would look like. But I think starting the tournament the first week in December and just owning the month of December if you're college football. Now you'd have to rework the scheduling of the Heisman ceremony and some stuff like that. I'm sure they could figure that out, or maybe even have it after the playoff. I don't know, but you would have the whole month of December that you could just be nothing but college football because there's this void from the conference championship weekend to December 19th or 20th, right there before Christmas, when the first round games have been taking place these last two seasons. It's 2.5 weeks of just nothing when it comes to college football. So it's like you get all this build up, you get the brackets, and then you just stop for 2.5 weeks. I mean, the NCAA tournament, you get it on Sunday. The first four is Tuesday. You get the first round games on Thursday. I mean, you're right into it. I would like to see something like that happen with college football. And I think you could really turn December into college football's version of March Madness. And that would be fun. And I don't know how the timing would work out, but you could end the season around New Year's, which everybody seems to prefer, instead of dragging it all the way deep into January, which portal madness, coaching changes, obviously it impacts all of that. So I think there's a lot of good that it would bring to the sport. I understand people have different opinions on it. I don't want to say there's a right or wrong way at this point. There's so many issues with college football and so many different solutions that would make sense. You can just kind of take your pick, but I don't have a problem with 2014 playoff. Beyond any bigger than that, I think it's probably too much for football. I think 24 is more than enough. But I think it could work, and I think we'll probably end up at that number eventually.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you, and also exactly what you said right there at the end. The train's coming down the tracks. There's no stopping this toothpaste out of the tube. So just go ahead and embrace this 2014 playoff because that's about
Yeah, I mean
what's about to happen.
The Big Ten's the one already pushing for it. So once everybody can get an agreement, get an agreement on who's going to make what money, because I'm sure that's the holdup is who gets paid how much, and I'm sure the SEC and the Big Ten want more than everyone else.
Oh yeah, they'll iron it out eventually. They'll get past the pettiness, but until then, just a sort of silly note of something that Josh Heupel said today. I thought that we could start off with before we have to talk
It was
about basketball.
kind of too on Hypo. He is not really typically when these kind of things come up, whether it's the transfer portal, the calendar, the 9-game conference schedule. He's always been pretty, reserved and sharing any kind of hard thoughts on it. I mean, he's kind of like, hey, whatever they go with, we'll deal with, and we'll see where it goes. Kind of those kind of answers. So I don't know if he's making a concerted effort this offseason to be a little more open than he has been in the past, because we talked about this at one point, I think, near the end of the season. Sometimes these college football teams, like the head coach needs to be a big personality. You need to be out there politicking for your team. Even though I don't love that about the sport, it's kind of necessary at this point. You see everybody doing it, from Kirby Smart to, Ryan Day, Marcus Freeman. I mean, across the sport, and even Marcus Freeman's kind of been a more reserved guy. So it seems like Heupel's leaning into that just a little bit more this offseason, getting out of his comfort zone on some stuff, which is necessary. I mean, if he wants to take Tennessee to the next level, there's some things he's going to have to do that he's not comfortable with, and we've seen him do some of those things this offseason, from coaching staff changes, strength coach, defensive coordinator, to maybe his media approach here moving forward.
That's a good point. Yeah, I would love to see him step out, and because we made that point when things were going south at the end of the season. It was probably after that Vandy loss
Yeah,
where I went, really, at the end of the day, this guy Heupel has the goodwill of the wins he has, which outside of 2022 aren't that many. Um, and he doesn't have the goodwill of like what Tony Vitello had, where everybody loved his personality.
yeah,
Like Tony, his last year at Tennessee was not a great year. They made a super regional. It was fun. That Wake Forest series was great, but like ultimately at the end of the day, you didn't do anything special that year. And yet we all were weeping and gnashing of teeth, not just for losing a guy that won a national championship. Obviously, that's a huge part. But I am truly sad to just see that guy's personality leave Tennessee and the ambassador that he was for the university. With Josh Heupel, I'm kind of like, I'm not totally sure Josh really likes being here. I don't, I don't really
I mean,
know.
Heupel though, and we'll move on here in a second, but Heupel, when you see him in like those settings with 3HL with like Brent Doherty and Ron Slay, and he's kind of relaxed a little bit, you see his personality come out, and he's a likable guy. You can understand the way he connects with players and recruits and families. I wish he would show more of that to the fan base and to the public, because I think it would help him drive and control some of these narratives. For example, the narrative about his offense that pops up every year at this time of the year when the combine and the NFL draft gets going. We've already heard it a little bit this year with Chris Brazzell and the route running and the offense and the wide choice and the splits. And even though Tennessee used more pro style concepts this past year, you know, what Tennessee does is very similar to what a lot of other college teams are doing. He's far from the only one that runs these choice routes. It's kind of become the in vogue thing in college, and you even see the NFL as well. But this narrative has just got attached to Tennessee for whatever reason, because Heupel, he kind of lets the media, the national media, drive that narrative, and then he kind of passive aggressively will say some things here and there in a press conference, or he just kind of lets it go and then maybe fights back against it behind the scenes. I think he needs to be more aggressive in controlling that narrative. I think we're going to see that this week. There, he's got a film room study with Mike Keith at the Ball Network coming out this week. I don't know if it's Wednesday or one day this week. I'm intrigued to watch that and to see what Heupel says, because maybe that's the beginning of him trying to push back against some of that stuff. Because you kind of got to be that guy. As much as Lane Kiffin gets on our nerves, he's able to control some of the narratives just by how vocal he is, and other coaches do the same thing. So I think that's something that, even though I don't love it about the sport, I think Heupel would benefit from it.
I hope he does do that. I think it would be good. Um, we'll see. But this was just a fun little detour to start things off. Now let's talk. I already saw we got a comment. Let's see. It was Anderson in the comments said, any update on Ament's injury? Let's talk a little basketball. So last week, Tennessee loses both games. First to Missouri, which I kind of expected. It felt like the most letdown spot of all letdown spots that have ever happened. I mean, you get that great win at Vandy, and then you have to go play this Missouri team that they're not really that great, but they're good enough to pick you off if you don't have a great game. And they were so jacked up in that game, Missouri specifically. They just really brought it. And a kid who averages 8 points a game had his career high against you, of course. And you lose that one. That doesn't really concern me. But Saturday's a complete disaster against Alabama. Not just because you blew another, was it a 13-point lead? A 13-point lead, I think, with like 13 minutes left in the game. And you blew it. And you blew it on a play where LeBaron Philon, one of the best guards in America, somehow got switched on to JP Estrella. JP is trying to guard LeBaron Philon with the game on the line in Alabama's final possession. How? How do you let that happen? It was just absolutely ridiculous. Literally, if you go and look at the video, Phylon like shakes his head and is like, "Are you kidding me?" Like in the moment in the play, he like shakes his head and is like, "Oh boy, here we go, here we go." I mean, yeah, watch me score this basketball, and he scored. He went and he did that.
Yeah.
But that's almost beside the point because that Alabama's a good team. The they're they're not elite, but they were good enough to win that one, even if Nate Ament had played more. But early on in that game, Nate Ament goes down with what looked initially like I thought he blew his knee out. I thought he was done. Um, Turns out it seems like they I haven't really heard anybody say anything about the knee too much, but just kind of looked like a hyperextension. And then Jeff Goodman just earlier uh, said that it's a high ankle sprain, which is as
The
bad
worst
as a
of the
knee.
ankle sprains.
Yes, as bad as a knee can be, a high ankle sprain is way worse than a hyperextended knee because that can drag out and it can you can even get to a point where you can play on it, but you'll re-aggravate it and it just hangs around and it's ugh. And I don't want to say your entire season hangs with Nate Ament, but it kind of does. I mean, it kind of does. Now you should have beaten Alabama without him. You had a 13-point lead in the second half, and he had barely played. He only played 11 minutes in that entire game. And you had Alabama done for if you actually kept your head screwed on straight. Uh, and not just done for. I mean, you were sort of running them off the floor, and that that just makes it even worse. But uh, going forward, you definitely don't need him tomorrow at South Carolina. Absolutely not. He shouldn't look at a basketball floor tomorrow against Vandy on Saturday. You'd want him for sure, but with the chance of injury, probably sit him for that one. SEC tournament virtually meaningless. Love the SEC tournament. Wish Tennessee would win it again. Don't play him in the SEC tournament. Save him for the big tournament. You're gonna drop a seed line, I think, because you probably might lose to Vandy, and which would be real bad, not great. And you're probably not. Florida's gonna win the SEC tournament. Florida's the best team in the SEC by a mile right now. They stomped a mud hole through Arkansas on Saturday, just destroyed them. And so just let Florida win the SEC tournament, drop your seed line, get a 6 seed, and pray that the 13 seed that you get matched up against isn't somebody real good. Or I guess what would it be? No, it wouldn't be a 13 seed, it'd be an 11 seed. Sorry,
Yeah.
thinking of it backwards. Pray the 11th seed that you're playing against isn't one of those like, oh well, they're a lot better than their seed line.
Yeah. Those 6-11
Um,
games are scary.
the boy, yeah. So yeah, you gotta at this point, you gotta hope Ament's ready to come back by the tournament. Reportedly questionable for tomorrow. How are you feeling about basketball at the moment, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, my my feeling on this team is like they can be a good team. They can compete with any team in the country on any given night. We saw that, back in the fall when they beat Houston. But there's just nothing that gives me confidence that they can do it, 4 or 5 games in a row. And the fact that they keep blowing these big leads, like I know, like if Nate Ament doesn't get hurt, I think you win that game. But like you said, you should have won that game anyway. I mean, they dominated Alabama on the boards. Out
Oh,
rebounded them by like 17 or something crazy.
yeah.
And then the part that I thought was crazy, they took 22 more shots than Alabama. I mean, they took 78 shots in that game, and that's just unreal that they threw up that many shots and lost the game. But I just don't have much confidence in this team being able to string together a 5 or 6 game winning streak. But you never know, right? You get into the tournament, crazy things happen, but they're definitely not doing it without a healthy Nate Ament. So I tend to agree with you. I wouldn't play Nate Ament again until the NCAA tournament, and that might cost you a couple of spots there in the seeding. But again, it is it worth it to lose him possibly for the tournament to not drop down a couple of seeds? I don't I don't think so at all. So you've got the tournament starts what, March 20th, 21st are those first first 2 games. So you've basically got 3 weeks from the time the injury happened to get him somewhat healthy. I think that's somewhat doable. I think that's realistic considering the treatment he'll be able to get and the health staff there at Tennessee. I think they could have him ready to play in 3 weeks. But man, you go out there and you try to play him in the SEC tournament, or you try to play him against Vanderbilt, and he retweets it, then you really risk losing him the rest of the season, and that's your season's over at that point. I mean, it's
Yeah.
done. You're looking. I mean, that 6-11 game would be, a lot of money be probably put on that 11 seat.
You just can't risk it. I think it's a sit until the tournament, the real tournament, and just go with God from there. I mean, it really that's where you're at. Is
Yeah,
just
Jesus, take the wheel.
say your prayers, baby. Because this is where we are at. I mean it just is such a shame because he was really finding a step there
Yeah,
here in the latter half of the season. It makes me sick because you were really harnessing something when he was scoring 27, 29 a game and really getting assertive.
yeah,
And
he's
I
the guy that stops runs. I mean, they wait too long to go to him
yeah,
sometimes to stop the run, but he is the guy I feel like that has all the belief, all the confidence on the floor when this team's blowing leads. Without him, who stops it? I mean, Gillespie, I guess, is your only only other real option there.
yeah, and to go beyond a mint, Davy Boy says the bigs can't score to save their lives. I Yeah. I mean, what was it? The stat after that game: 12 of 21 on layups in that game. 12 for 21, if I'm remembering that correctly. I mean, are you kidding me? What are we doing? What are we doing out there? And especially the way they rule the boards. They get so many offensive rebounds, and then to not convert. Like that's it. The way that this team has rebounded is insane. It's probably the best rebounding team Rick Barnes has ever had, and they can't freaking score under the basket. I mean, what a combo that is to be rebounding like that, and then you can't score point blank. How he put together a team that figured out a way to do that, I do not know. But congrats to Rick on that. I mean, you just look at some of the clips. Like Akpara will come down with the ball, and you would just hope like go up with force, and he just doesn't. He just kind of goes, looks for a pass, and goes to Jacoby Gillespie, who will jack up a three, and it's a much more lower percentage shot, and it just oh, it's tough. And yeah, and Gillespie can't carry the thing himself, and so you just got to hope. I mean, Anderson says it there. It's a high ankle sprain. We may not see Nate again. You got to just hope that that's not the case.
I think he'll
Um,
try to play. He's a
oh yeah,
he's a high character kid. I think he's going to do everything he can to play, but yeah, at some point it just you don't know how he's going to recover from that. I mean, everybody's different, and that's tough playing basketball. It's one thing if you're a quarterback and you're Patrick Mahomes and you're trying to limp through a playoff game where you can kind of control when you got to move and not move, but for a minute that's just that's going to be tough. But again, I mean, I think that's why you got to sit him for the next 2.5 weeks.
yeah, you do. I think he's listed, or I guess Jeff Goodman said today he's questionable for the South Carolina game. In no world should he be playing in that game, and really until the
It's
NCAA tournament.
it's crazy that he even gave it a go to start that second half against Bama.
Yeah.
That he tried to come out there.
Hey,
I've had two
and
high ankle sprains before. I couldn't walk from here to the floor with either one. Like that's I don't know how you could. I don't know how.
I'm sure after he sat down and gave it a little while, that the reality probably hit him. I gotta think. Um, but hey, as you said, high character kid. I think he is a kid that is gonna try to play if he can at all. And you gotta just, even if he really wants to play in that Vandy game, man, I want him to, but I think you gotta just say no. We got higher aspirations in this Vandy game, because you're not even guaranteed to stay at that 5 spot, even if you beat Vandy. And obviously, I mean, you got to beat South Carolina without him, which South Carolina is horrendous, but still possible, no doubt.
I just
Will
what is up with them blowing these leads? Like, what is it in their head at this point? I mean, do you think it's
Five, 5 of 9 losses. Tennessee had a double-digit lead. 5 of 9.
I mean,
Six is that 60%?
you kind of expected them in that second half, the way that they were
Oh,
winning that game, to just kind of, you know, just kind of come out with a different attitude. Knowing Ament was hurt, it's like, all right, we're going to rally. We're going to win this game with Ament out. We're in control of this game. And then just to see it slowly. I mean, you all knew it was coming with 4 or 5 minutes left in the game. It was like, okay, you know where this is heading. Unless Alabama just completely screws up here, you know where this is heading. We've seen it too many times this season.
well, I mean, I told you, I texted this into our A to Z chat. Um, I Tennessee got up by enough where I was like, okay, I'm gonna go cook dinner. And I came back and the game was tied. It went from, I mean, they were up 13, 15, whatever it was. Came back, the game was tied, and I was like, what? What happened? Are you kidding me? Like, come on. And it was halfway through the second half when they had that lead. And it just feels inevitable. It's just something, tightness. They get tired at the end of games. I mean, if they have to rely on Jacoby Gillespie, he just plays too much. His feet get tired, which we've seen. I mean, that really affected them in both of those Kentucky games. And yeah, not having a mint for a go-to basket, brutal. And you needed him. So, hey,
What do you think here about the comment Anderson made? It's like no made threes in the second half for
yeah,
Tennessee. It really feels like
can't happen.
the last since Dalton Connect, Tennessee has not had a like go to shooter that you can just rely on. They've had guys that have had good games or have had good stretches, but like a consistent 3-point shooter that you see so many tournament teams have, like that guy that just can't miss. Like he's just consistently that guy. Like Tennessee's not had that guy at all in a couple of years. I mean, how does that happen? How can you not have a shooter that is just like a killer out there? I mean, I don't. Is it like Barnes just doesn't go after those types of guys? Because Connect was kind of like a welcome surprise. Like he wasn't supposed to be that kind of guy. Like? How do you not have one of those guys? I know they're not a dime a dozen, but still, you got to have one to win some of these like games like this. Like you have to have that guy.
I mean, it's been two deficiencies that having real scorers and real big men who can score with Barnes, and that's kind of who the guy is, and it's what gives me the feeling right now. I I hate this, but this is 100% the real feeling that I have at the moment. Barnes is the best coach in Tennessee basketball history. Period. He's been unbelievable. What he has built at Tennessee. I would be totally fine if he retired after the season. Well, and I know a lot of people can be like, "No, you're gonna wish that you didn't." I'm okay with the risk. I know the risk is you could hire somebody and this thing nosedives. I also know the risk is Florida hired a guy I thought was a total clown, and he won a national championship last year. The guy, freaking Peeping Todd over there, won a national championship. So, it can also be that. I mean, he was a nobody, an absolute nobody, and they won a national title with that guy. So, save it. I get it. But you are gonna get what you're gonna get with Rick Barnes, and it's this. And so I love him, eternally grateful. He was an absolute pleasure to cover as a reporter. He was one of the I mean, the best basketball coach to ever walk through here, and one of the best coaches, period, to ever coach at the University of Tennessee. I just, it would be completely fine by me if he retired after the season. I hate saying it, but it just would, unless he can lead Tennessee to a national championship this year, and I'll believe
It
it when I
just
see
really
it.
feels like his style is just not like that's what's holding them back. And you love it. Like I love the way Barnes teams play. I love the effort, the
Yeah,
focus on defense, because it's such an important part of the game. But it does feel like sometimes like these dudes just run out of gas because they're just pushed so hard. And you know how hard they're pushed in practice, even if it's not quite as intense as it was during like the Grant Williams years, it's still pretty intense. And then when you combine the big man scoring deficiencies and the 3-point shooting, like those are just all things that I think should probably be more of a focus than the defensive end. Like I don't want to say like you shouldn't care about defense or anything like that, but I think that that's part of it, and especially in the tournament when you're playing, 2 games in 3 days or whatever. Like I think it has a real impact on players.
It does. It 100% does, and that's very real. Um, Jared in the comments says too. You think Bruce Pearl will be the next coach? I know a lot of people still have a lot of love for Bruce. I hope no, please no. I don't want Bruce back here. I don't think Bruce is going to come back and coach. Um,
Uh,
I don't think he wants to go into politics and just hasn't fully committed to the bit yet. But um, uh, it's time for a Josh Schertz from St. Louis. Somebody. I'm sure Danny White would go out and make some cute hire. I don't think he would go for the one that truly makes sense. You'll have never heard of the guy that he hires, but again, I had never heard of Todd Golden. Well, I mean, I had heard of him, but like I I thought he was going to flop, and for a couple of seasons he did, and then he won a national championship. So
yeah,
you
Danny
never
White.
you never know.
If Danny White has to go hire a coach, whether it's because Barnes retires or Kim Caldwell and the Lady Vols, if they miss a tournament and maybe they have to move on from her or whatever, he's got to remember, like, he's not at Buffalo anymore. He's not at UCF. He doesn't have to go find the under the radar guy and kind of find lightning in a bottle or something there with a random coach. Like, you don't have to do that. You've turned Tennessee into a destination place. I don't want to say turn Tennessee into a destination place. You've reminded people that Tennessee's a destination place with some of the success we've seen over the last few years at Tennessee. Go throw the money around and make the big hire. I mean, you see other universities do it all the time in all sports. LSU does it like every 2 years, it seems like down there they try to. So go be that guy. Just, find the right fit for Tennessee if it comes to that.
Yeah, that's another one. I'll believe it when I see it. But um, we'll cross that bridge if and when it comes. Let's finish with a little bit of baseball here. Zach, baseball goes to Arlington, home of my beloved boys, the Texas Rangers. And starts off with uh, a rough game against UCLA. Although I'll say Tegan Coons put in a nice performance on the mound. And you had what was it? They UCLA got up 5-0. And then you clawed back to 5-4. And then they bashed your head in. 12 to what was it? 12-4, 12-5 was the final score. And so not a great start there. UCLA is very good. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very good baseball team. I don't know. I think this every year about teams that aren't in the SEC, where I'm just skeptical, or I'm like, I bet you're not really that good. Like, it's fun that you're number 10 in America or whatever, but you don't play in the SEC, so you don't really play real competition. So you're probably not that good. UCLA is that good.
Yeah,
They're,
UCLA is
they're the real deal.
historically they've been a pretty good program historically over the years.
Yes. And that Mississippi State UCLA game yesterday was awesome. Mississippi State is very good. Kevin O'Connor from Virginia, who has won a national championship. He's doing things there. But beside the point, Tennessee loses to UCLA. Next day gets a real, I'll say, a character win against Arizona State, as kind of trite as that might be. It really was, though, because the offense showed up. You had another good pitching performance, and then you held it down. Especially Cam Appenzeller closing that game out was so good to see. Man, that guy's gonna be special. He's gonna be an absolute dude, and that's really exciting. Uh, and then the third game against Virginia Tech. I'm not sure Virginia Tech's a great baseball team, but you close that one out too. Figure out enough offense to win that one, and I think you're still in the same spot you were in the last time we talked. The pitching is good. The pitching is pretty good. Um, I don't know that I'm at the point of saying like that's a College World Series pitching or a College World Series bullpen, but it's close. And maybe by the end of the season it is. That starting rotation is very good. And then just hitting, man. Levi Clark has to figure it out. He has to figure it out. And he had some hits. He did. And you ended up winning 2 games. And Reece Chapman has to deliver. And then you got to figure out, is it Tyler Myatt? Does Garrett Wright potentially, maybe he can help when he's back 100% healthy? Blake Grimmer, another guy that you don't really know, and you're hoping him contribute. But just down the lineup, it has to get better. And you had Chris Newstrom had a nice weekend. And Henry Ford and Blaine Brown continue to be pretty good. But it's just going to come down to the offense. It's going to be, like, in the SEC, can you generate 7-8 runs a game, and you'll win most of the time if you can somehow do that. But I still, even with the great bounce back by Elanders guys, still got some stuff to figure out though.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the pitching for sure, absent that UCLA game, was great, and that's what's going to be able to carry you. The offense can find some consistency. Again, it's so early in the season. We've been through this before with Tennessee, where they've had some uneven starts, they've had some hot starts, and then the season didn't end the way you wanted it to. So it's hard to have any grand conclusions about this team after just half a month of play. But at the same time, this is a different type of season because Tony Vitello's gone, and we're all analyzing Josh Elander, every little thing he does to see, like, hey, is this guy long term? Like, we all thought he should be the hire, or most of us thought he should be the hire. We were glad when Danny White, didn't go a different direction and gave Elander a chance. But he's still actually got to go do it and prove that he's, SEC head coach material. And just because you were a successful assistant doesn't mean that you will be. And it's not me saying he will or won't be. It's just you gotta go show it. So going through a little bit of early season adversity, like you're always gonna have that in baseball, period. At any time in the season. But going through some of that early as a coach, and then having a strong finish to the weekend there against some decent teams, like you said, Virginia Tech's probably not the top competition you're going to face, obviously, but it's still a Power Four team. That's still an important game to win. So to get beat by UCLA the way you did by 7 runs, and then to bounce back and have quality wins against Arizona State and Virginia Tech to finish the weekend, that's huge, because that's something we've seen this team struggle with even under Vitello. Last season was like, hey, finishing out some of these series where you need to go win on a Sunday, even though this wasn't a traditional series, still you want to win 2 out of 3 at least over the weekend. That's something that they've struggled to do. I mean, they struggled to do it just the other weekend against Kent State, and they didn't do it. So it was nice to see them bounce back and do that. It gives me some confidence in Elander, but there's just such a long way to go. We know the way these teams evolve. I mean, as good as UCLA is right now, I mean, you got to kind of look at them and say they're the front runner. It's still March 2nd. I mean, there's 2 months, 2.5 month grind left before you really get into postseason play. So there's a long way to go. A lot of things can happen. But I thought Tennessee got back on the right track with winning those last 2 games there in Arlington. Really getting some momentum now as you get into March and weather starts warming up, and you really start to see the identity of who these teams are. Because this is a brand new team. It's a brand new culture. Without Vitello there, even if it is some of the same guys, it's the same uniforms, it's the same ballpark, it's all that stuff, but it's still a brand new kind of atmosphere and culture because Josh Elander is not Tony Vitello. He's going to run things his way. So this team kind of has to find its own identity, and I don't think it's found that quite yet. I don't think it's reasonable to expect it to have found it quite yet. But as we get going here into March and moving into April, I think you'll see this team develop its identity, and if the bats come around, the talent's there for this team to be as good as they want to be, I think. But it's just all how they gel. It's all about the vibes, as we usually say.
They are uber talented, and I've said it since preseason. They have a College World Series roster. Can it be harnessed, cohesive, and deliver? And you don't want to be playing your best baseball right now. That's a given. And so, if what they could never find last season was what's the right word? Spiritual leader, I guess. Andrew Fisher was close, but he was a transfer, and it just didn't. He's really fun, but he wasn't like that warrior that had been there for 3 years grinding for you, who knew all these guys and could just come in and be that leader. Um, and like Reese Chapman's not going to be that guy as long as he's been at Tennessee. It just, I don't think that's him. It it needs to be like a Levi Clark, frankly. And if he goes on the same trajectory as a Blake Burke, it's not going to be until next season when you get that out of him. Uh, but that's what they really need is just a guy, a Christian Moore. I mean, obviously, just have the best offensive performance in college baseball history or whatever, everything that Christian Moore did. No big deal. But I don't mean that, obviously. But his leadership, a guy who's going to get up at the plate and in the toughest of times, he's going to turn around to the bullpen and say, "Let's fight. Let's fight." And that's who Christian Moore was, and that's you really missed that last year, and you got to find it. You got to dig it up from somewhere here. Um, they love playing for Elander. I think there's advantages to him being a little more level headed, but you got to have that fire guy. Landon Mack is that guy. It seems like he's going to be your Liam Doyle, talking trash to everybody and getting jacked on the mound, but he only plays one day out of the entire week, so that's not exactly going to work for him to be that guy. So hopefully they can find a fire starter there. Would be huge, but yeah, it's still early. Let's give it some time. And I think they at least they quieted down some of the unrest that people were feeling. A lot of folks right now lamenting, oh, just 2 years ago we were winning a national championship in the college football playoff, all of this stuff. But I mean, if you weren't enjoying that at the time, you do that at your own peril. I don't want to say that's your own fault, but that was your own fault. And because now it's this tenuous,
Yeah.
we're right back down to reality. So,
Yeah, I think that's the thing with college sports that people in general have kind of n- not all people, but a lot of people, it seems like a lot of fans, and media too. Media is just as bad about it. National media, especially, is the expectations for athletics now. It is that you should still have the high expectations. I mean, the expectations are to go win. That's your goal every single year, no matter what you're doing, is to put a team out there that can win and can compete for championships and have the best season you can possibly have. But the reality is that the margins are so thin now. I mean, because of the parity in the sport, it's easy for any team to rebuild rosters just very quickly, literally overnight, and you can go from having a middle of the road roster in any sport to a championship roster literally overnight. I mean, Indiana did it overnight, basically. They won't be the last team to do it. That's going to continue to be a thing. So you suffer a couple of injuries, you don't hit on the right transfer, you have some weird locker room turmoil that's kind of out of the coach's control that fans and media never really even see. I mean, there's just so many things that can just make your season go just a little bit off course that can open the door for somebody else to step in there. There's going to be these just wild variances in results from year to year. And, I don't think it's going to be uncommon to see teams like Florida State where they're going through a season undefeated in football and then their coach they win like one or two games in that season. I mean, that's a pretty drastic example, but I don't think I think we're going to see more of that. I mean, Oklahoma was the same way. Brent Venables before last season, I mean, he was on the hot seat. We were talking about like maybe he'll get fired and Hypo will hire him as the defensive coordinator, and then they make the playoff the next season. I mean, it's just that wild. Nobody's predicting Tennessee to make the playoff in 26. Nobody, notable at least. I don't know if they will or not. I mean, we don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. But would it be totally shocking if they flip the script, if Faison Brandon or George McIntyre ends up being like a transcendent talent and carries this team to a playoff appearance? I mean, they did it with no offense in 24. That's just how wild it is in every sport. And baseball is even more that way. Like the silliest little things can cost you in baseball. It can cost you a game that you should probably win 10 times out of 10, but your second baseman doesn't make a play and it's nothing that anybody else can do about it. But he boots the ball and, next thing you know, you're going home. I mean, it happens to Arkansas like every single year in the postseason. So it's just one of those things that you just don't know. You just really don't know from year to year now.
Really interesting comments on the way out the door here. Leslie says, "I heard Kiffin is going to step down from the LSU job to take over running Iraq." I think they mean Iran, but
Yeah,
he would do that. Classic Kiffin. Um,
that's going to be
and
fun to
there's
monitor this season down in Baton Rouge because that is a championship or bust situation right there.
oh, the pressure is just going to be unreal. And Tennessee has a really good chance. Tennessee gets to be a part of that story.
Yeah, it's hosting
Um,
in Knoxville.
yeah. Anderson says against Bama, it seemed like our bigs were afraid to battle at the rim, but this is the interesting part. We needed someone to say, "Give me the ball and get back." I think White's brother will be our next head coach. He's done well at Georgia. If Danny White hires his loser brother to coach, no offense, if you actually think he's done a great job at Georgia, he's done better than I thought he would. I'll say that. But Mike White
He was
is
fired, right?
no, he
Or did
left.
he step down?
He was gonna be fired
Okay.
at Florida. Rick Barnes kicked Mike White's butt up and down every which way. I want to say Mike White in totality has beaten Rick Barnes like twice in all from Florida all the way through Georgia. It might even only be once. Like, no, no, thank you. Maybe this is sarcasm, and if it's not, I don't mean to dunk on you, but no,
I don't think
that's
I don't think Danny White would do that for the simple point that look, yeah, I mean a lot of times the coach you hire you're going to fire at some point too. Like that's just typically how it goes, especially in basketball.
yeah. You're not gonna, and just the whole nepotism. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't want that stink around here. Um, so hopefully not. And then Kevin says, "You're going to lose the next three games." Has a Tennessee helmet as the profile. Makes a comment like a
In
Vandy fan, though.
in which sport?
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Which sport are we talking?
I don't think they're going to lose to baseball is going to lose to what ETSU or Oakland this week. Well, you
Wright
never know.
State.
But yeah, they play
No,
Wright
you
State this
don't.
weekend. They have two midweek games and they play Wright State.
They lost to ETSU last year before.
Yeah, so it's possible, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe he is talking about
Um,
baseball. I don't know. With the Lady Vols, they're they're going into tournament play, so they might not have 3 games left this season.
I don't think they do have 3 games left. But they will probably. They're going to play one of Alabama or Missouri. I I mean this so genuinely, especially after everything I said last week. If if you lose, then they're going to make the NCAA tournament. I don't get women's NCAA tournament at all. I saw the projection on Sunday. Tennessee, Kim Caldwell has this team at 16 and 11. 16, 11, 16 and
12.
12.
12.
16 and 12. That's not a tournament resume in men's basketball.
Oh, it is
They're,
according to Bruce Pearl. It is according to
well,
Bruce
yeah.
Pearl.
His son, Auburn deserves to be in the tournament, without a doubt. But they project that as a 7 seed. It was like a 7 seed. I just don't understand. It was from Charlie Cream on ESPN, I think. It was what I saw. Who's like the preeminent women's college basketball bracketology. I was like, 7 seed for 16 and 12? Like, what are we doing? We're letting anybody in, I guess. Obviously there is a much bigger chasm between the haves and has nots in women's basketball, but I was like, really? It's that if we're not gonna be like an 11 seed or something like that, you're sneaking in with that kind of record. And if you lose to Missouri or Alabama, just fire her. Let's move on.
Well, I mean, they
And
did smack Missouri around pretty good a couple weeks
they're
ago. So
not
hopefully yeah.
they're not gonna lose to that team. They'll make it to the next game, then they'll lose that one probably. But
I
I
think the last time they made the Elite Eight, which was like,
with Holly Warlick,
yeah, like what, 2015, 2016, I think they
yeah,
had like 12 losses going into the tournament that season. They had quite a few. So,
weird stuff happens all the time.
yeah.
UConn, the men won a national championship as a eight seed, I think. Like, it happens, but
Pretty
not
rare. Yeah.
yeah, it's an outlier for sure. But just yeah, you gotta if that happens, we gotta cut our losses and call it a failed experiment and move on because you're just I forget who said this, but it's some AD over the course of time. And it's basically they said if you're gonna fire him next year, fire him now. There's no point in waiting. You know what you're doing and what you have. Uh, but regardless, I'm not bitter about it or anything. Um, Charlie Burris, Zach Reagan. Were you about to say something?
I was just gonna say I don't think you can keep Kim Caldwell around for one more year if she does make the NCAA tournament, gets blown out, and risk next year being the first year the program ever misses the tournament. I think that's something you need
Yeah,
to. It's clearly too easy to keep that intact if they're going to make it this year. So don't put that at risk. That's a really cool accomplishment that Tennessee has that I don't want to see it end.
man. Yeah. I guess I grew up going to a ton of Lady Vols games. We had season tickets. My dad's a massive basketball guy, men's and women's. Uh, and just to having watched it up close in person for years to see it where it is now, and you to see where it is now, and you still get big crowds that come to the games to go see this slop that's been out there on the floor this season. It's a shame to me, but that's to sort of explain why I'm so harsh. That's why I care about the program. Charlie Burris, Zach Reagan, thank you to everybody who tuned in. Always comes and hangs out with us, even when I'm ranting about firing somebody. I don't know why you do it, but you do, and we appreciate it. We couldn't do the show without you. And yeah, I think that's it. We'll keep up with everything, and maybe Josh Hype will have another funny quote for us to talk about next week, and we will do it then. So appreciate it again, and we will talk to y'all next week.
See you guys later.